Hey, it's Mark Gordon here, the customer experience expert in downtown Vancouver. And it amazes me the number of businesses that have been impacted by COVID-19. And more specifically, and something that often doesn't get talked about, is the number of businesses that have been indirectly impacted by COVID-19, those being impacted by the trickle-down effect. And there is a lesson we can pull out of this, but before I share that lesson with you, I want to show you just some of the impact this can have, put it in perspective for you. Now, behind me is the port here in Vancouver, British Columbia, and normally on any given day, there'd be at least 2 cruise ships parked right behind me here, and then 2 on the other side, and there'd be thousands of people coming in every day, and they'd be working their way behind me through the shops and the hotels and the restaurants every day. A flood of new people coming in, which would totally feed the local economy. When all those thousands of visitors came off the cruise ships, tourist buses would take them around to various places, and one of the most popular places to stop and do some shopping and sightseeing was here at the Sinclair building. Now, the Sinclair building is actually a number of buildings that were built originally in the early 1900s and completed around 1935, and were all kind of attached together. And this place was full of shops and restaurants, and this restaurant right beside me here was one of the most popular restaurants in Vancouver, which is now out of business. And as for the rest of this area, it was packed with people and shops, and now, if you look around, it's empty. There's nobody here, and there are no tenants. There's actually no tenants in this building at all, except for a federal government office for passports and visas. That's it. Everything else is gone. Well, it's easy to see the impact that COVID-19 has had on businesses, especially ones like this one that are no longer in business. What we don't see is what happens behind the scenes, the trickle-down effect. All the suppliers and vendors needed to keep these businesses going. Well, if the businesses aren't there, then there's no need for all these vendors and suppliers either. So you get a lot of these other distributors and suppliers, they're closing up, they're laying off staff, and this trickle-down effect just continues, regardless of industry. So what can we pull out of this? What can we learn from this to apply to our own business to ideally help us succeed even during these challenging times? Well, there are 2 things I want to share with you. The first one is understanding where our business comes from, and maybe accepting the fact that that source is too defined, that funnel is too small. Just like a lot of these businesses defined on that flow of tourists coming in from the ships, a lot of businesses, well, they're dependent on that flow of customers as well. Maybe not from cruise ships, but maybe from something else, maybe from a website, maybe from walk-in traffic or a specific geography or demographic, whatever it is. Maybe it's time to open up that scope, to widen those doors a little more and allow more kinds of clients to come in. I know when I first started one of my early businesses, I had a clear description of what my ideal client was, and the problem is I missed so much potential business from other groups who could have benefited from my products and services, but I didn't go after them because I didn't think they needed me, but in fact, they did. And I've seen this so many times repeat over and over with other clients I've worked with. I'm like, why don't you go after that market? They don't want to, or they didn't think to. And the second one is this. Perhaps what you're offering is too refined. You're offering something that appeals to a very, very specific group. Maybe it's time to refine your offerings, expand them, vary them a little bit, maybe add a new product line, a new service, something that can appeal to a wider group. Now, you might be saying, well, I have a very specific product or service, and that's what I offer because that's what I'm good at. But you know what? A lot of times all it takes is a very, very small change, whether it be packaging, presentation, or just doing things a little bit different. And all of a sudden, you've created a brand new product or service that can appeal to a whole new market. It's not that hard, trust me. I've seen businesses do it all the time, and a lot of my clients have made more money by making a slight change than had they stayed the path they were on. So there you go, a couple of tips that you can use for your business to help you avoid getting into some of the predicament that businesses here have gotten themselves into, being dependent on cruise ships, bringing tourists every day, and when that supply dries up, so do their profits. So I'm Mark Gordon. Thanks for watching, and look for another episode from my adventures here in British Columbia.